Good day, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Just Fish Outdoors. I'm your host, Dale York, and I designed Just Fish Outdoors to focus on freshwater lakes and streams and to provide information, tips, and techniques, along with how-to segments for catching everything from crappie to catfish. We will also provide tips on equipment, tackle, boating, and much, much more. All of this is aimed at helping you catch more fish and have fun doing it. So join us each week as we talk about my favorite subject, fishing. Good day, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Just Fish Outdoors. I'm your host, Dale York, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Lowrance Structure Scan and specifically Lowrance Sidescan. You know, as I travel around to different outdoor shows and speak at seminars, I'm often asked by fishermen, do I really need a fish finder with Sidescan technology? Boy, this question is asked primarily due to units equipped with this technology are generally a little more expensive than this regular 2D sonar. And one of the ways I answer this is really to maximize my time on the water and be a proficient, successful angler. I have to utilize all tools that improve my fishing skills and maximize my time on the water. Therefore, I really have to have Sidescan. But what about you? Well, let's discuss some of the advantages of being able to use and have Sidescan technology. You know, we've been able to see for many, many years straight below the boat using traditional 2D sonar. But Sidescan allows an angler to see below the lake surface and cover both sides of the boat, in one pass. This results in scanning the lake's bottom and surrounding water column much, much more efficient. And at the end result of this is an angler will discover more structure like rock piles, brush piles, stumps, bait fish, and game fish. All of these potential gold mines will be found in less time. For example, let's say you're on a new lake and are unfamiliar with a hump that is displayed on your map. In this situation, I always like to thoroughly idle my boat over the hump, looking for bottom features that stand out. I will do a zigzag pattern while staring at my Lowrance touchscreen HDS the whole time. By the time that I'm done, I will have uncovered most of the key spots on that hump. This process is time consuming, especially if limited to this traditional sonar or down scan. But with Sidescan, I can weave a looser grid pattern, learn just as much, and cut the time required by as much as half. Plus, I can save a little on gas. You know, this is what I call locating the spot on the spot. You know, there's a specific spot or group of spots on that hump that's going to produce and hold fish. And this is the great way to find those spots on the spot is Sidescan. Another great feature of Sidescan is the ability to drop waypoints on features that are seen on the side imaging. And that's just awesome because you can find those spots on the spots, drop a waypoint on there, and just go right back to it. For example, let's say I'm idling across a long point with a gravel bottom looking for isolated larger rock that may draw fish. When one of these key rocks appear on the Sidescan, with Lowrance's touchscreen capabilities, I can just simply touch the rock on the screen and then I can drop a waypoint there. You can even measure how far away that waypoint is or how far away from that rock or structure is from where you're at in the boat. Now I know the precise rock's location and can quickly locate it again and again and again and again. Because once you have that waypoint saved, you can go back to it years from now and still be able to locate that rock pile or whatever it was that you put that waypoint on. Sidescan can be useful in displaying fish as well. Suspended fish are easy to read. It's just the ones that are on the bottom that can be a little tricky. I've caught many suspended fish like crappie and stripers and black bass thanks to Sidescan. It's also useful in determining the number of fish in a school and how they're positioned. You know, one of the things you need to be aware of especially when you're looking for suspended fish, the higher that fish is in the water column, for instance, if you're looking at 30 foot deep and that fish is in 15 foot of water, it's much, much harder to catch that fish than if that fish was close to the bottom. When they get up and get suspended, regardless of species, it can be much more tricky to catch those fish. You know, I always consult the side scan to see which side of the boat has the majority and how far out they extend. You know, and once again, you can drop a waypoint on that temporary school and turn around and find that school of fish really, really quickly. Another great capability of using side scan is you have the ability to idle by one of your existing waypoints using side scan to check for fish that may be located on your waypoint without traveling over that waypoint, thus possibly spooking the fish in the process. You know, let's say you found a rock pile or you found a brush pile in the past, and you want to see if that rock pile or brush pile is holding any fish. You can get out there 40, 60, 80 feet away from that waypoint and side scan across that waypoint and see if there are any fish currently on that waypoint. And like I just said, you can do that without spooking the fish. You know, also another great asset of side scan is you can idle by boat docks and actually scan under those docks looking for schools of fish. And the docks that show the most promise, you know, you can just mark the docks by dropping a waypoint and, mark that dock that may be most productive. Whether you decide to purchase a fish finder with side scan depends on your level of seriousness you regard your fishing. Having side scan and using it will make you a more efficient fisherman. You know, none of us these days have the amount of time to spend on the water that we'd like to have. And that's one of the great things about Sidescan is it helps you maximize your time on the water. It truly can make you more efficient with the time you have to spend on the water with locating and then catching fish. You know, if you can't find them, you sure can't catch them. And that's one of the great things about this Lowrance equipment is, you know, you can find fish. And another thing to remember, folks, you know, there's no hidden brush piles or rock piles anymore. You can idle up a cove and set your side scan out there 80 to 100 feet, and you will find every rock pile, every brush pile, everything, every stump in that cove that you're idling up. And then once you find them, you know, and put a waypoint on them, you can have them. It's just a wonderful thing, and it can be a little tricky to use. You have to spend some time with it to be able to really understand what that side scan is telling you and be able to read it. Man, get out there on the water. One of the things I recommend is get out there on the water, find something you know is in the water, like a bridge pylon, a stump sticking up, a rock pile sticking up, something that you know is there, and go by it with several different directions using the side scan and look at it on the screen and begin to understand what it's showing you on the screen. And, you know, use it in conjunction. If you have a unit that can show you multiple screens at a time, you know, one of the things you can do is you can run over it, put a waypoint on it if you're not sure what you're looking at, and then turn your down scan or regular 2D sonar on, bring it up on the screen, and then travel back over that waypoint with your down scan or your regular 2D sonar to help fill in the mental picture as to what you're actually seeing under the boat. It's a great asset. Another thing that I highly recommend is depending on screen size. You know, if you have a HDS 7 or something of that size, don't set your side scan range out there a long ways. keep that side scan range 60 feet or so, and that will help fill up that page and blow up that images that you're seeing underneath on side scan, and help you fill in that mental picture as well. Another thing you can do is when you do run over an object of interest is to touch the screen and use your zoom feature and bring that image, enlarge that image to where you can see it more clearly on the screen. And that will help you fill in that mental image as well as to what you're seeing. Sidescan can be a wonderful, wonderful fish locating tool as well as structure locating tool. Just because you run across the brush pile and don't see any fish on it, my recommendation is to go ahead and put a waypoint on that structure. So, you may come back to that structure an hour, a week, or 6 months later, and that thing's full of fish. So, finding the structure, that's the primary reason Lowrance calls it structure scan instead of fish scan, is, you're finding the fish holding locations and marking those fish holding locations. Sooner or later, you're going to come back to some of those waypoints and they're going to be full of fish. Whether they're rock piles, brush piles, bends in the river, or whatever they are. They are very, very high productive spots that you found. That will help you out a bunch as far as being a more efficient fisherman. The other thing I'm going to talk about a little bit is when you start using these waypoints, Lowrance uses numbers. Like the first waypoint you put on your unit is going to be 001. Well, that's all fine and dandy as long as you can remember what 001 is. And one of the things that I highly recommend is to come up with a 3 or 4 letter code for your waypoints that means something to you. It could be species of fish, it could be time of year, it could be the type of structure, whatever that 3 or 4 letter or 5 letter waypoint code is for you, something you can easily and quickly input into your waypoints, so you're not sitting there typing in for 5 minutes what that waypoint is, but at the same time it quickly identifies what that waypoint is to you. And this is very helpful, especially if you fish a body of water a whole year, let's say, because you can mark those fish holding waypoints with time of year and other information that's useful to you. And you can search those waypoints. Let's say you go back to that lake in the fall and you've already fished it and found fish and caught fish in the fall. You can just pull up the waypoints that are enumerated, by the letter F, let's say, for instance, for fall. Now you've got some very, very good spots to start looking for those fish. It can really, really cut down your time and maximize your efficiency on the water. And that's what this equipment's all about. It makes us a much, much more efficient fisherman with the time that we have on the water. And that's, basically, let's let's get real. I mean, that's what we're there to do. We're there to catch fish. So it's wonderful, wonderful stuff. As a final note, I really recommend Lowrance fish finders with touchscreen technology because they are the most user-friendly units sold, in my opinion. If you have any Lowrance questions, please feel free to email me, justfishoutdoors@justfish.com, or send us a message on Facebook, Just Fish Outdoors. Visit Just Fish Outdoors for other great tips and information, and be sure to subscribe. This is Dale York, Lowrance Pro Staff, saying we'll catch you later.